Ave Maria. Hi everyone, and welcome to Whitelist, where I, an opinionated Catholic, recommend movies and other content that I happen to like. I'm your host, Dr. Hudson Leon. This is a new channel, so if you like what you're seeing, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with other people so that the channel can grow. Thank you so much for your support. Let's get started. This video is going to be broken up into two parts. In the first part, I'll give you a spoiler-free overview and some content warnings so you know what to expect. After that, I'll analyze the film in greater detail and offer my own thoughts. The Village is a 2004 film by M. Night Shyamalan. If you've never heard of it, I'd highly recommend you go see it. The cinematography is gorgeous, the acting is top-notch, and the world building is excellent. That being said, there's a crucial flaw with this film that you should really watch out for before you sit down for this movie. M. Night Shyamalan is a storyteller who's notorious for writing plot twists, and The Village has at least 3. 2 of them are fairly good, but the third one ruins the movie, more or less. For me, this wasn't a big problem, and I was able to enjoy the film regardless, but for you, this might be a deal breaker. If you go on Rotten Tomatoes, you'll see that the average approval rating for this film is 43%. Roger Ebert, a highly influential film critic, gave this movie 1 star and wrote, "The Village is a colossal miscalculation, a movie based on a premise that cannot support it. A premise so transparent it would be laughable were the movie not so deadly solemn. To call the ending an anticlimax would be an insult, not only to climaxes, but to prefixes." Ouch. The outrage behind The Village is understandable once you've actually seen the first 3/4 of it. This is a film that really could have been a masterpiece, and it just didn't stick the landing. It's one thing to watch a movie that's kind of mediocre the whole way through, and another thing altogether to watch a movie just implode like this. The Village is an unintentional tragedy, and although tragedies are often unpleasant to watch, I do think that they are worth learning from. In particular, I think The Village is a great example of gilding the lily, or overdoing a piece of art. So I think artists especially will get a lot out of this if they decide to watch it. I've talked about the ending for quite some time now, so let's take a step back and discuss what the movie is actually about. The majority of this film takes place, as you might expect, in a village, which is located somewhere in North America. Life in the village is pretty close to idyllic, but there are 2 unusual rules that have to be followed. First, no one is allowed to leave the village and go into the surrounding forest. Second, the color red is forbidden. You'd be forgiven for thinking that this village is a massive cult, but it turns out these rules exist for sensible reasons. Apparently, there are dangerous pig monsters in the woods that are attracted to the color red. The monsters don't usually bother the villagers, provided they stay within the village, but there are some exceptions, as we come to see in the movie. The village itself was built by the Elders, a group of men and women who fled away from an unnamed town somewhere beyond the forest. The way this town is described, it's basically Sodom and Gomorrah. 20 or so years before the movie takes place, the Elders banded together and created the village in total secrecy in order to protect their families from the violence of the town. Living in the village does come with its disadvantages, though. The villagers are less technologically sophisticated than the townsmen, so when somebody gets sick or injured, they have to make do with the limited resources they have. Sometimes the result is a permanent disability or a premature death, but for the Elders, this is a sacrifice worth taking. The secrecy of the village must be protected, no matter the cost. If you watch the trailer for The Village, you might think that this is a horror movie, which really isn't the case. While there are definitely some frightening moments here and there, the story itself is 1 part mystery, 1 part adventure, and 1 part romance. The main plot revolves around the relationship between Lucius Hunt, played by Joaquin Phoenix, and Ivy Walker, played by Bryce Dallas Howard. Lucius is quiet and aloof, but unexpectedly brave. Ivy is blind, but outgoing and tomboyish. The main conflict in this movie is driven by Noah Percy, who is played by Adrian Brody. Noah is an intellectually challenged young man who loves Ivy, and is unable to cope with his unreciprocated feelings. That's about all I can say without giving away any major spoilers, so with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the spoiler-free content warnings. In terms of language, this film has absolutely nothing to be concerned about. There's no blasphemy or cursing, so I'm pleased to give this movie 2 thumbs up here. Likewise, there's nothing in this film that's hazardous to the sexual passions. Not only is everyone dressed like they're going to the TLM, but they're also very fashionable. 2 thumbs up for fashion. There is some graphic violence in this movie. A major character is stabbed multiple times, and another character dies from injuries sustained after falling into a pit. As far as movies go, it's not especially gruesome, but it may not be suitable for young or sensitive viewers. Additionally, there are a few scenes where villagers discover dead and skinned farm animals. The close-ups are a bit gross, but that's about as weird as things get. As I mentioned earlier, this is a movie with some spooky overtones. Anxious viewers are probably going to have a harder time with the village, but provided they're old enough, they should just power through it. Some minor spoilers here, but I'll try not to give away too much. The elders regularly lie in order to preserve peace within the village. They even cover up a death at one point because they see it's advantageous for them. Although their intentions are arguably good, they are repeatedly guilty of bearing false witness. I recommend discussing these things with younger audiences before or after the movie. Alright, enough tiptoeing. Let's get into the major spoilers. Noah, the man with the intellectual challenge, stabs Lucius after learning that he's betrothed to Ivy. Lucius survives, but his condition is critical, and he's essentially comatose for the rest of the movie. Noah is caught and arrested by the elders, who begin panicking about what to do, since this is presumably the first serious crime that's ever been committed in the village. The village doctor does what he can, but without medicine from the town, it's unlikely that Lucius is going to survive. Ivy petitions the elders for the privilege to go out and get the medicine, this despite the fact that she's totally blind. Ivy's father, the leader of the village, makes an exception and allows her to go, much to the ire of the other elders. Before Ivy leaves, her father reveals the first big secret of the village. The pig monsters are a myth, largely fabricated by the elders in order to keep the young people from venturing out into town. According to Ivy's father, the monsters were a legend that existed long before the villagers first settled there, so they used it to their advantage. In order to maintain this ruse, the elders would occasionally dress up in costumes and do spooky things in the woods that were bound to be noticed by the other villagers. Ivy is instructed about where to go, and is told there's a big wall she has to climb in order to get into town. She's given 2 escorts to help her navigate the forest, but they don't know the secret about the pig monsters, and they eventually chicken out. Ivy, now alone, encounters what appears to be a genuine pig monster. She tricks it and causes it to fall into a deep pit where it dies. Later, it's revealed that the monster was actually Noah, who escaped his house arrest, stole his parents' pig costume, and ran off into the woods, presumably to go and assault Ivy. Though it's worth mentioning that his exact motivation is never clarified. Ivy gets to the wall, climbs over it, and wouldn't you know it, the story is actually taking place in the 21st century. Womp womp. As it turns out, Ivy's grandfather was a billionaire who got murdered. The inheritance passed on to his son, Ivy's father, who was racked with grief and decided to set up the village for himself and a group of other grieving victims as an escape from the real world. From the outside, the village is disguised as a totally unsuspicious nature preserve that no one is allowed into, that's a registered no-fly zone, and that's constantly being patrolled by guys in jeeps, I guess. Some secret, right? Shyamalan himself makes a cameo as a board administrator who warns the junior on staff not to ask too many questions. It's a bit on the nose, if you ask me, but hey, it's his movie, and I thank him for the entertainment of being able to criticize it. The movie ends with Ivy getting the medicine she needs and going back to the village. Roll credits. Have you ever seen those pranks where somebody drinks from a soda can and they're revolted to learn that it's actually milk? The grossness here is more due to the fact that you're getting something that you really weren't expecting. Here, The Village is a movie that presents itself as a mythological period piece, but ends up being The Truman Show. This is the kind of ending that you love to hate. It's so ridiculous and unbelievable that, for me at least, there's kind of this campy value to it. Maybe you'll decide that it's a little bit too much whiplash for you, but I hope you decide to watch this movie. It's hard to analyze a movie like this without obsessing about the ending, but I'll do my best. A major theme of The Village is longing, whether it be for an unreciprocated love, for a dearly departed one, or for the hope of a simple life. Now, we as Christians understand that, while the object of these longings are good, they are not ends unto themselves. God alone gives us lasting happiness, so to put anything else in the place of God is idolatry, plain and simple. The Village is an effective illustration, intentional or not, of what happens when we place our hope in things other than God. In the case of Ivy's father, we see a broken man who spends an exorbitant amount of time and money building his own utopia, only for human nature to catch up just a few years later. In the case of Noah, we see a horrible primal display of violence in the style of Cain because of his unchecked affections. There are further examples of this misplaced longing in other minor characters, but let's not labor the point here. Shyamalan, who was raised in Pennsylvania, was no doubt inspired by the Amish, a Christian sect who use a minimal amount of technology and live an insulated life apart from the world. It's evident from this film that Shyamalan has a high esteem of rural traditional life, and as well he should. People tend to be happier and closer to God when they live simply. A question he seems to pose in this film, however, is whether simplicity is worth sacrificing everything and anything, even morals. For the elders, the answer is unequivocally yes. The village is a lie they're willing to tell their children, even at the expense of sickness and death, in order to escape their trauma. Will Lucius, Ivy, or any of the second generation want to continue if they ever learn the full truth? This is a question that the movie leaves open, but I suspect the answer is no. Even Ivy's father, delusional as he might be, seems to understand that the fate of the village balances on a knife's edge. The village is not reality. Like all lies, it's an illusion that has a lifetime. The sun cannot be hidden forever. God bless you all, and thanks for watching.